So, my pitch is a little series I have on my channel where I take an up-and-coming movie or TV show and put my own spin on how to do it. But there's a catch. I have to use whatever is known to be public knowledge and incorporate it into my story. Think of it as a studio mandate. For example, even if I didn't want to use Doc Ock in my movie, I have to find a way to use them since The Hollywood Reporter and Alfred Molina himself have stated that he's going to be in the film. With that being said, I can still add whatever I want into this story. So, for example, even though Charlie Cox hasn't officially been confirmed to be playing Daredevil in this film, I can still add him in anyway. But before I get started, I just want to say that if you guys enjoyed the video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to stay updated with me and my content, just follow my Twitter @Machuw. Alright, let's get into it. The tone of my version of Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be a fun, action-packed, character-driven thriller. The film is going to start out pretty hectic, and the closest thing I can compare it to is the Safdie brothers film Good Time, Martin Scorsese's After Hours, or even the opening act of John Wick 3. As in, it's going to have essences of a non-stop thriller with ridiculous things that keep getting in the way of the protagonist achieving their goals, with many moments in the film that slow down to focus more on the character work. Those slow moments will mainly be characters having a heart-to-heart with one another, alongside the more drama dialogue-filled courtroom and police interrogation scenes for Peter's conviction. Next is the theme. The theme of Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be self-identity. Throughout these films, Peter has been completely torn as to who he is and what exactly he wants to do. Does he want to go to college? Does he want a normal life? Does he want to be an Avenger? He doesn't really know, and this film is going to pressure Peter into a decision as he feels his normal life has been completely stripped away. This will also contrast with the fact that Peter has lost his secret identity, so his identity is lost both as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. This theme will apply to everyone, as we'll explore more into MJ's character having a troubled home life, Flash's neglectful parents, our villains, and we'll focus more on the individualism of all these characters and who they are as people. Since Peter's friends are all affiliates now, their parents are going to have to show up in this film. So for example, we'll learn that Ned has been solely raised by his mother, as his father passed away long ago, and overall we'll get deeper into each of these characters. The way we'll mostly learn this information is through police interrogation scenes, so we can organically weave in some exposition about these characters' backstories. Now without further ado, let's get into the story. No Way Home begins with a cold open of Doc Ock sinking into the river and being transported into the MCU, where a strange man in a suit greets him. Then we'll cut to the Marvel logo, where we'll begin the film somewhere near the end of Far From Home, where all the kids are on a plane coming back from Europe. The film's going to begin with a frantic one take where Peter is coming back from the bathroom and is just trying to take his seat next to MJ. So this will be a funny and creative way of showcasing one of the main themes in the movie, in that Peter just wants to have a normal relationship with MJ, but all these external and ridiculous factors keep getting in the way. Flight attendants will bump into him, Peter's friends will get in the way, the pilot forces the passenger seatbelts to be on while Peter is nowhere near his seat, and overall just showcase that awful Parker luck in a comedic and frantic way. The scene will end with Peter getting his seat next to MJ. They share a small but intimate conversation with each other as she alludes to her troubled home life and tells Peter that this isn't going to be a normal relationship. Peter will tell MJ that she shouldn't worry and that he's got her. The scene ends with MJ putting her head on Peter's shoulder, and will slam cut to Peter holding MJ in his arms, swinging her to safety right where Far From Home left off. This will begin with several back-to-back action scenes where Peter is just trying to get the people he loves out of harm's way. This could be random criminals, finding out Peter's address, the FBI going after him, and more. This will then lead to Doctor Strange interfering, where he'll share a couple of scenes with Spider-Man as a very minor supporting role. Now let's get into the main villains. So the main antagonist in the movie is really just the various external forces getting in the way of Peter's life and him trying to get his secret identity back. If I had to identify the main villain, however, this would be Norman Osborn, played by a new actor, not Willem Dafoe. Essentially, Osborn has been working on a machine for several years that could potentially lead him into the multiverse. His project is getting really close to being done, but he can't risk any of those superheroes getting in the way, where it'll be alluded to that Peter had inadvertently messed with Osborn in the past as Spider-Man. So Osborn manages to pluck out some very deadly villains, these being Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, who will be from the Raimiverse, and Jamie Foxx's Electro, who comes from the Mark Webb-verse. He essentially tells them that he needs them to kill Spider-Man, and in exchange will grant them a way back home. So the title No Way Home will be in reference to these two characters, whilst also referring to Peter as he can't go home as he's a wanted man. The two will start randomly attacking the city in hopes to bring out Spider-Man. Spider-Man and Doctor Strange will team up here and defeat both of them, leading Doc Ock and Electro to get sent to the raft. Doctor Strange tells Peter he'll deal with the situation, and that Peter needs to turn himself into the police to avoid arising suspicions of him being Spider-Man. He also tells Peter not to worry as he's got some good connections and could get him a good lawyer. Peter goes to the police precinct to turn himself in, and one of the phone calls he gets is from Dr. Doctor Strange, where he tells Peter that the criminals that they apprehended cannot be identified as if they just didn't exist. This furthers Strange's concerns of the multiverse breaking, so he gives Peter a warning and leaves the film where Multiverse of Madness will then pick up. This will then start Act 2, where Peter and all his friends will then be questioned. We'll see some of their family, and we can humorously see how bad they all are at trying to dodge questions, and then Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson enter as Peter's lawyers. And of course, they're played by the original actors, this being Charlie Cox and Eldon Henson. Matt and Foggy are able to use their lawyer skills to give Peter and his friends some leeway so that they can at least be in the same room to talk with each other. MJ reaffirms to Peter that their relationship won't last, and MJ will remain distant and cold with Peter for mostly the rest of the film. Happy will act as a father figure to Peter, and he even gives him some relationship advice. He tells Peter that he stumbles on his words too much and recommends that he writes down what he wants to say on a piece of paper, rehearse it, and then talk to MJ. Osborn will again be masquerading in the shadows, and due to his immense power and wealth, he moves Peter's trial up very quickly, and that he will be properly sentenced in a matter of 3 days. This throws Matt and Foggy off. Meanwhile, Peter alone gets sent to the raft until his court date. We'll then reveal that Doc Ock and Electro lost on purpose so that Peter will get sent to the raft so they can kill Peter much easier. Here we'll reunite with Shocker, Scorpion, and Vulture. Luckily enough for Peter, Vulture has his back, so he'll try to keep Peter as safe as much as possible in there. This will be a small tease at an eventual Sinister Six, and they'll all team up and Peter nearly dies. This leads Matt and Foggy to plead a case to get Peter out of there because he's become a target. Meanwhile, Matt and Foggy have been tirelessly working with Peter's friends to prove his innocence, and they finally realize that the footage Mysterio used was fabricated. The court then accepts Matt and Foggy's plea to release Peter, but still only has 1 day before the hearing. This throws Osborn off, so he stages a breakout for Electro, Vulture, Doc Ock, Scorpion, and Electro so they can go attack Peter at the courthouse. However, Vulture leaves as he doesn't want to go out of his way to defend Peter nor attack him, so the story will pick up back in Morbius. This will begin Act 3 of the film. Peter's trial begins where we'll go through a few people going on the stand, and overall Matt and Foggy do a great job of defending Peter and finally showcase that Mysterio's recording was indeed fabricated. Before anyone really has any time to process this, the Sinister, Four? Storm the courthouse and various innocent civilians get caught in the crossfire. Some of the people include Happy and Ned's mother. Matt unfortunately doesn't have his Daredevil suit around him, but he tries his best to fend them off with what's around him, but Doc Ock knocks him out. Unfortunately for Peter, he can't do much in this scenario without looking suspicious, so he ends up getting captured and delivered to Norman Osborn. Doc Ock gets a feeling that Osborn can't and won't uphold their deal and is still thinking about the possibility that his wife is alive on this earth. Osborn orders them to execute Peter, but Doc Ock has a change of heart and helps Peter fight Electro, Scorpion, and Shocker. The two eventually beat them, and they all get sent to a maximum security prison, and Electro never makes it back home. Meanwhile, Osborn got away without Peter seeing his face. Peter gets a phone call from Matt telling him the residual damage that happened after the courthouse battle, and all his friends and family are at the hospital. When Peter arrives, it's revealed that Happy has suffered extreme wounds after the attack. Happy gives off some emotional last words to Peter and succumbs to his wounds, dying. Right after this, he goes to see Ned, where it's revealed that Ned's mother has been put into a coma. Ned blames all of this on Peter and severs their friendship. Here, we'll tease Ned as becoming the Hobgoblin. Peter and MJ have some form of reconciliation, but Peter again stumbles on his words and does little to nothing in convincing MJ that their relationship could ever work out. We'll then cut to Osborn going home, where we finally get a good look at his face, and there he's greeted by his son, Flash. We'll then fast forward months later where we're in winter, where Peter is back to normal as his secret identity is safe again, and we see him doing simple things like stopping a robber in the streets. However, Peter is still hung up on MJ, so he decides to go visit her at work, and we can see Peter is just outside rehearsing to himself what he's going to say, just like Happy told him. He goes in and tells MJ exactly what he wants and reassures her properly that they can work out. It's revealed that they both got acceptance letters into MIT, where we'll tease the next Spider-Man trilogy, which will all take place in college. The film then ends with Peter finally getting to spend a proper moment alone with MJ, where they finally figured out what they want in life as individuals. For our post-credits scene, it will be revealed that Osborn has finally taken over the Avengers Tower and has turned it into Oscorp. We'll close in on the machine, where Osborn has finally perfected his machine, and we'll see that both Tobey and Andrew Spider-Man got transported into the MCU, and in sync, they both say, but yeah, this is obviously in reference to the previous two Watts films, where they both ended like this, so I figured we ought to keep the tradition going. But what did you guys think for my pitch for Spider-Man No Way Home? Did you like my ideas? Did you hate them? Do you have your own? I'd love to know. I know there were some plot details that I left out, but again, it's just a pitch, so I tried to cover just the important stuff. And with all that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. Peace.